Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is about how to keep Jews safe. And I'm going to tell you some things that you don't want to hear. To some degree, I almost don't want to say them because they're controversial. And people give me a hard time for saying them. But I'm going to do what's right no matter what. So first of all, it's like Americans have forgot that when you kill people's family members or whole family, that they want to get revenge. It's like people have forgotten that. When you kill people's family members or whole family, there's a good chance that they want to kill you. Pretty straightforward. And we have to be honest about things. Keep in mind, I live in California. I live by one of the most populated cities in California. Who knows? Maybe Hamas or their sympathizers will attack somewhere I am and a stray bullet will kill me or a bomb. Okay, but I'm going to still tell the truth about this. When you kill people unfairly, it is wrong. When you are controlled opposition, you are part of the problem. There's people pulling Israel's strings. Some of them are rich Jews outside of Israel who may have never even been to Israel. Some are rich white people, LGBT people. There's people pulling their strings. And there's people pulling Hamas's strings. And there's people caught in the middle in Palestine and Israel. Even people I'm sure that who are in Hamas, the circumstances in their life caused them to wind up to be in Hamas. People in the IDF. So, the truth is how you keep Jews safe. Treating people fairly is how you keep Jews safe. You stop encouraging Jews to be controlled opposition and everyone else. Tell them to tell the truth about everything. I've seen this number where they said there was like 10,000 anti-Semitic incidents. There's stabbings and shootings. In this one case, I believe, if I remember correctly, there was Jewish people set on fire. Now, why did this happen? Why wasn't this happening before? Why did this happen? Because the people who control Israel, not just Jews from what I gather, right? Whites, Jews, LGBT. Goes back to the Balfour Agreement and the relationship that Europeans and Americans have had with Israel for a long time. People in Israel involved as well. They set the stage for October 7th to happen by abusing people. Before October 7th, many Palestinians have had their family members killed, sexually assaulted, wrongly imprisoned, their lands taken. And that pissed them off. And they were itching for revenge. They wanted to stick it to Jews because what was done to them. So when these Jews are getting hurt outside of Israel and Palestine, why is that happening? For a similar reason that October 7th happened in the first place. I tell you again, when you kill somebody's family members, when you make them poor and destitute, when you do them wrong past a certain point, quite often they want to kill you whether they're right or wrong. And people are straying from the central, universal moral code, which says you don't just invade a country for no reason, right? Whoever's doing it. But you have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to attack people if you're in the right. If you're not in the right, you should make it right with that people and squash that problem and settle the problem and cease fire, what have you. If you are in the right, then you are right to defend yourself, including invading another country if that is what is logical and strategic and moral. Now, if somebody invades you because of a perceived injustice or a partial injustice, and they want to use propaganda to lie to you, and they have controlled opposition groups that pretend to stick up for you, and they have quotas and kill rates, and they have quotas in regards to land grabs, and they have a political agenda, and then they kill people in your family, okay? those controlled opposition people also helped them in a sense. So one of the most heartbreaking facts that I'm going to have to say here, in order to do the situation justice, both Jews and Palestinians and everyone else justice, is to find a Jewish person who is not complicit with the genocide in Gaza among the Jewish community is like finding a needle in a haystack, according to their own book. Proverbs 18:9 says what? It says, one who slackens his work is brother to one who destroys. One who is in a controlled opposition group is also brother to one who destroys. So when Palestinians are killed, to some degree, almost every Palestinian to some degree, helps Hamas in some shape or form. Hamas being the lesser of two evils between Hamas and Israel. That's just the truth here. Just like Al-Qaeda was the lesser of two evils between Al-Qaeda and America. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear this. A lot of you think that I shouldn't have the right to say this. You think that military operations should be run on me for saying that. That's outrageous. I challenge you to a debate on two things. One, do I have the right to say that? Two, is it true? Has Al-Qaeda killed as many people as America? Let's do a comparison here. If there's a gang of 10 people and they go around robbing, that's a problem. If there's a gang of 1,000 people and they go around raping and killing and robbing a lot more, that's a bigger problem, even though there's more of them. And so it is with America versus these terrorist organizations. Terrorism is absolutely a problem. They should be dealt with. But so should the corruption in America and Israel. Israel and the United States of America are bigger problems in this world than all the terrorists put together. That's how bad it is. And of course, depending on how you define terrorists. I mean, groups like Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, what have you. That's how bad it is. And Palestinians don't miss that for a moment. They know about slavery, Native American genocide. They know about these things. For the most part, they know. They know about the drug trafficking in America, the human trafficking, the murder rates. They know about Israel's agenda and their psychotic religious views in regards to political Zionism. So it is insane to sit there and argue that the problem is that Jews are being attacked in the world and in Israel. Why? It is a problem. But the core problem, when we talk about the problem, is poor governance on the highest level on this planet when it comes to secular governance, worldly governance, not divine governance. That's the main problem. That's what created Hamas. That's what created Israel. It's people who are so slack in their work. And so when we look at the problem and we look at who's doing what to who, we can kind of see what's going on. I'm going to use the example of Bloods and Crips in Los Angeles. If you lived in a Crip neighborhood, okay, and some of your friends went around shooting up every other gang's neighborhood for no reason, just to try to act bad, just because they have some crazy fanatic view, they would be putting you in danger, right? And so it is with Israel. Because their fanatic view, they've been abusing Palestinians for a long time, putting Jews in danger. So how dare they sit there with their globalist allies and their fanatic views and pretend that they're not the main ones putting Jews in danger? It's outrageous. You can't just abuse people and throw your weight around and make it very difficult for them to attack your country directly. And work with controlled opposition groups. And everyone knows that these are political groups we see on TV. While other Jews are slacking their work, accepting the ill-gotten gains of the situation to some degree, as a group at least. And then turn around and say, how dare you attack pro-Israeli people? Controlled opposition people? People who may be in the IDF and have dual citizenship, may have served time in the Israeli military, especially when you're from a nation where last I checked, every adult there is required to serve in the military. If that doesn't make it logical to assume that they're enemy combatants, what the fuck does? And you know that you have superior firepower to these people. So if we abandon the universal moral code on this issue, this huge issue with all this international attention, what does that mean? What does that mean for conflicts in the world in general? If we pretend that you can kill somebody's family and a group of people's families with impunity and it's okay. If we pretend that it is okay to kill people's family members with impunity and use politics and propaganda to insist that other people root you on while you're doing so, in what seems to be the most important nation conflict on the planet at this time, to the masses of people. What kind of message does this send? Where does it take us? What the fuck is going on? So how do we keep Jews safe? We do the right thing. We tell the truth about everything. We stop abusing the poor. We stop killing people. No, I'm not doing it. But, the people who are doing it, stop killing people's families. Now, there's people, when they say to me, we don't want you to tell people who you are, they fucked up. So I'm going to have to say, who am I? I am the Messiah, saying this. I am the Son of God. See my Proof I'm Christ playlist. And even if that doesn't do it for you, I've been making videos for many years now. This is one of my key points. Things have to do with rules of engagement, codes of conduct, codes of conflict, what have you. So obviously universal pinpoint and moral precision is greater than mere propaganda and the philosophies that go into these lies that people are propagating. Do you think when it comes to the lives of human beings that mere propaganda and corrupt governments should determine what the code is? For those of you who are religious, certainly you know that God determines what the code is, and it goes back to Luke 12:57. Why don't you judge for yourselves what is right? And the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Which means use your head and pinpoint it. It's not very hard. People sometimes, they let their emotions blind them, right? That's why it says in Matthew 7, first remove the log from your own eye, then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. I tell you, everyone in Hamas, as far as I know, they're not thinking clearly. Everyone in Israel, as far as I know, is not thinking clearly. I've never met a Jew who thinks perfectly clearly on this issue, or a Muslim, or anyone else. I'm the only one who nails it here. For those of you who aren't religious, think of God as the essence and the center and the source of universal pinpoint and moral precision. Even if you don't believe that God actually exists, that's the beauty of how God made this thing. That's part of the beauty. That to hold morality as something that's sacred, like someone who's monotheistic would hold the Spirit of God as sacred. It's the same thing. The Spirit of God in its true form is morality. You don't achieve it unless you're obeying God through me, because it's immoral to cheat me out of my right to lead, whether you know it or not. It's like it's immoral to rape somebody, whether you understand that's immoral or not. It's the same thing. Someone goes around raping children, for example, and they don't know it's immoral. Do you think they can be in the spirit of morality? You think they're living that? No. The people perish for lack of the knowledge of God. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of not being universally and morally precise is the beginning of wisdom. It's the same thing. And the person who has refined his understanding of things sees that morality and the spirit of morality, true morality, is the Spirit of God. We see in the patterns of nature. Parrots are helping us understand this, right? What is nature trying to tell us? The message of the parrot is that nature's trying to tell you something. What is the sun trying to tell you? What is the sky? Why do so many people speak with their hands? If nature does not try to tell you something, then why did people try to communicate with each other in the first place? Why did it evolve? Why did animals evolve systems of communication? If nature doesn't speak, why do animals speak? And in a sense, the trees and the flowers talk to the animals, and they interact with them. They tell them what they can and can't do over time, with poison oak, with the thorns on roses. To not do everyone justice, including the people in Congo and the Ukraine, the Palestinians and Israelis. If you've been paying close attention, you see that I'm not making this video out of hatred for the Jews, even though a lot of people are persecuting me, including a lot of Jews. I'm making this video out of a love for God and an insistence on justice. And I'm persecuted. I've been blinded. My vision's messed up to a large degree. I'm partially crippled. I keep going. Martin Luther King says something to the effect of, if you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you got to keep going forward. And I'm going to keep going forward. You should be far more afraid of being immoral and doing people wrong than of getting hurt. I'm far more afraid of God than I could ever possibly be of anything else. While at the same time, I know God loves me very dearly. And I tell you all, I hope that you would do God's work so you can be my dear brother or dear sister. If you want to keep Jews safe and stop acting like demons in rebellion, not just Jews, everybody, and start telling the truth about things like military-grade psyops and military-grade and Ivy League school-grade marketing processes that are influencing people to be evil. Tell the truth about social clubs and social engineering and why people are socializing with each other the way they are, social interactions. Start telling the truth about these things. Stand for what's right. Don't stand in one compartment or another, in Babylon's devilish system. Stand for what's right. Because the truth of the matter is that when you let these people get murdered by the corrupt and toxic politics of every nation and every group outside the divine order, then on some level it is fair to some degree for Hamas to attack anybody outside the divine order. That's why they call themselves the arm of God. They're not doing God's work, mind you. Any more than Goliath was doing God's work when he took on David. Any more than Babylon is doing God's work when they're punishing people on the day of the Lord. Babylon's system, that is. But you are people who deserve to be punished and killed because your selfishness punishes and kills people unfairly. And what goes around is coming back around. You are doing to others what you don't want them to do to you, and to some degree it's being done to you while you're being marshaled to hell. The least of your worries, if you're a Jew, is what Hamas or some pro-Palestinian protester will do to your flesh. You should be worried about what God and I will do to your soul if you don't do what's right. And you should love God enough to be focused on what's right so much that you're not really worried about anything except for God's judgment. So it seems right now I have some, as Martin Luther King said, some difficult days ahead. It's one of my favorite things he said, right? He said, we have some difficult days ahead. But I'm not worried about that now. He wasn't worried about that. How much more the Messiah? He saw the glory of my coming. Martin Luther King Jr. was not worried about that. And I, the Christos, am not worried about that. I just want to do God's will. And I'm going to do God's will. And the Zionists aren't going to stop me, as they're blinded by their hate for anyone who doesn't do what they say. The globalists aren't going to stop me. The terrorists aren't going to stop me. Everyone who thinks that I should be quiet, they're not going to stop me. And after my flesh dies, my work has just begun. That's where the real fighting begins. And that's when the real fighting begins. Thank you.